Do you think of it as the corporate press, as my guest tonight, Michael Malice, refers to it? Is it boomer media? For many people, the term mainstream media is stand in for a propagandist or a shortcut for media with a liberal bias. We're going to talk about all of this tonight. This is Real America with me, Bridget Fedesi. All right. For me, the term mainstream media evokes a sense of nostalgia to a time when I had trust in our institutions and believed the Fourth Estate was speaking truth to power. I know. Silly. Back in the halcyon days before I was red pilled and knew better, before the internet leveled the playing field and the gatekeepers lost their power. Now I hear it, and all I hear is our president saying, the mainstream media. Some joke. I'm not great at impressions. The term mainstream media traditionally refers to established media outlets, major broadcasters like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, BBC, NBC, CBS, and ABC. Outlets like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, you know what I'm talking about, NPR, BBC Radio, and other widely syndicated networks. They used to have large reach. I'm not so sure about that anymore. They do have a broad audience, often national, international, and are accessible through multiple platforms like TV, print, and online. Once upon a time, they were thought of as institutions with professional journalistic standards and perceived authority. But for the past couple of decades, mainstream media has objectively been dying. Money problems, layoffs, bloat. They sucked at adapting to the digital world. They were way behind on that. And most importantly, there's been a complete collapse of institutions and with it, trust. It's a shit show. The media has been drowning for a while. We dove into the numbers using Pew Research Center surveys. Americans are abandoning mainstream media in droves. They believe that the media has failed to keep their promises and they've failed their duties. Gallup's first Trust in Media poll in 1972 found 68% of Americans trusted the media. And today it's 30%. That's insane. And this number is only that high because Democrats have more trust in the media since it caters to them largely. Among Republicans, trust in the media is only 12%. 12%. Republicans see journalists as biased, elitist, dishonest, and unrelatable. And that's mostly true. Journalism leans left and has gone hard left in the last 20 years. Instead of speaking truth to power, it became the power, or at least joined its ranks. And now many Americans, rightfully, feel like it's just the PR department of the Democratic Party. But the most popular, most mainstream outlet is Fox News because for a long time, it was the only game in town for anyone who wasn't a Democrat. Because of this, all by itself, Fox is more powerful than the rest of mainstream media. Here's what's crazy, though. According to most Americans, all of them are failing. None of them are trustworthy. It's not like Americans are straight up abandoning the news. They're migrating. They're coming here to places like Two-Way. About a third of Americans report that they use podcasts for news the way people a generation ago used CNN or Fox News. And over a half of them say that they trust the information they get. There's another reason why mainstream media is absolutely doomed, and it's because the decline in public opinion is way more than just red team versus blue team. Their audience is aging and not being replaced. Young Americans are leading the exodus. For them, indifference toward the media is practically unanimous, regardless of political orientation. They're abandoning traditional media and going to social media. We all know this. TikTok has become a news machine. In 2020, 3% got the news there. Today, it's 20%. Among 18 to 29-year-olds, it jumped from 9% in 2020 to 43% today. I'm not necessarily saying this is better. In fact, it might be worse, but it's happening either way. When an average Joe Rogan experience gets 10 times more than the views than an average CNN show gets, what does the term mainstream media even mean anymore? What does journalist mean? Elon said, you are the media now. We are all the media in one way or another. Who qualifies as a journalist and what counts as news? Our guest tonight is the author of several books and host of the popular podcast, You're Welcome, Michael Malice. Before we talk to him about all of this and you, some quick housekeeping. We'll go through it fast. If you want to be called on, you need to be on Zoom on camera and you need to virtually raise your hand by clicking the reactions button. If you aren't on Zoom and want to be part of our virtual live audience right now or in the future, click the link in the description below, or to get the Zoom link below, go to twoway.tv/Bridget Zoom. The Zoom link is the same link every time, so save it. This is your virtual diner with us. The voice of God that you're hearing is Cousin Maggie.
Hello, everyone.
Many of you already know her. She's my cousin and co-producer. We make a lot of other stuff together. Some of you are familiar with it. Dumpster Fire, Walk-ins Welcome, and all the other content you can find at Feticy.com. Maggie is going to be monitoring the chat. If you have something to say and you raise your hand, Maggie will message you privately to find out what you'd like to talk about. She's going to help make sure we stay on topic. And she's going to reach out to you in the chat. So look for that DM from her if you're raising your hand. We can't guarantee we'll get to everybody, but we'll do our best. And everyone knows my number one rule, not Malice's, is don't be a dick. So please just don't be a dick and we're all going to be fine. I do give Michael Malice permission to be himself, however. And now a word from our sponsor, Quest. I'm trying to make my health a priority, and that's why I love Quest. Quest simplifies the medical testing process significantly, especially if you're dealing with an HMO like I am, because I'm a poor. No more waiting weeks for an appointment to see my doctor and then getting a referral and waiting weeks more for an appointment with a specialist that I needed to see. Just skip all that. Quest offers over 150 of the same tests trusted by doctors, including diagnostics for specific ailments like STDs, chronic conditions like heart, liver, and kidney disease, as well as testing that's almost never covered by health insurance, like fertility and advanced women's hormone testing or testosterone, whatever you want to check out. Quest also offers broad packages of tests that go way beyond the standard tests you typically get in an annual medical checkup visit. Concierge medicine and functional medicine doctors like acupuncturists charge thousands of dollars for these types of workups. Quest offers them for the price of a night on the town, not for a night on the town. Visit questhealth.com and use the discount RealMay25 and get 20% off your purchase. That's questhealth.com, code RealMay25 for 20% off. And let's get into it. Mr. Michael Malice, welcome to Real America. We will bring him up and we're going to be off and running. Is the mainstream media dead?
By the
Mr.
way,
Malice?
I've used Quest for years and I can vouch for it's affordable. You don't have to go through a doctor. It's very convenient.
It's awesome.
People should be more aware of it. So I'm not getting paid like you are. So I will endorse them for free. That especially guys and people out there who want to have more from it used to be. Here's the thing. I'll even tell you something else about this. This is just interesting. When Cuomo was governor of New York, he banned lots of these kind of personal blood tests. So I had to pretend my address was in New Jersey to mail stuff to deal with that. Like this is how, so they're really doing good work. Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually starting a whole new line. I believe it's coming out soon. That's going like it's going to be over the counter too. They're really trying to.
It's a great company.
It is a great company.
So I feel like there is. I'm going to put you, broadly speaking, in the like right of center category
That's
at
fine.
this point because
We all know this is true.
right. Okay. But I feel that there's this kind of Greta Thunberg idea that all these institutions, like you said, have collapsed and they have not collapsed. Like, I'll believe the New York Times has collapsed when we're pulling the bodies out of the rubble. I'll believe the universities have collapsed when I see the professors on lampposts. None of these things have come close to happening. And I started doing Gutfeld again earlier this year. And there's this, you and I personally know there's this trope, Fox is dead, cable news is dead. So what I was told not to do during COVID, I did my own research. And February, and that's the last time I checked. I hate that expression, but this is literally true. Last I checked, which was February was Fox's biggest month ever. So and the other point is, yes, the Joe Rogan audience is a lot bigger, but if I asked you, would I rather persuade 9 Supreme Court justices or 90,000 average citizens? The answer is clear. So I think there's a discontinuity because I think these shows are watched by people who are still making decisions, especially in corporate America. I think this whole old school leftist Bernie Sanders idea that corporate America has an enormous amount of power is like undeniable. And this populist vision that people are waking up. Sure, they're going to say they don't trust the corporate press, but when push comes to shove, that's who they're going to cite time and again. It's the same kind of thing when someone's like, I believe in marriage. I'm honest. I'm not going to cheat on my wife. I'm going to say that, but there's something called revealed preferences. What happens when push comes to shove and people are not citing, Alex Jones as a source? They're still going to be citing the New York Times or CNN or these other places, even people on the right.
Yeah, and people on the right will say, "Oh, the New York Times, like this, that, or the other thing," and then they'll get so excited when they're on the
Yes.
bestseller list.
Yes.
It still means something to them. It's
It
like
will
if
mean
you,
something to everybody.
yeah.
It's a thing. It's a chit in your belt. So
But so when people talk about the mainstream media, do you think that it is still just what we're talking about, this corporate press? How do you, it just feels like the wrong definition for something that is not truly pulling in the same numbers as a lot of these other podcasts
well,
are.
I think one of the things that Trump has done is kind of abolish the concept of mainstream. I feel like we're like
Mhm.
a cell that's going through osmosis and we're
Mhm.
segregating out ideologically into two like Venn diagrammy spheres. So I don't, if I were like literally, if I asked you, what does a centrist in America think in 2025? I don't know what the answer would be because I don't know that there's a lane for that. Like, what is the center? It's so bifurcated. I'm not even saying this is a bad thing, but you're either like a Trump supporter, and if you like Trump, you're probably going to be pretty rah-rah for him because he inspires that kind of excitement and enthusiasm, quite understandably. Or you're going to be like, this, we're entering a new dark ages. Like, it's awful. And like what's America come to? Neither of those are like moderate positions.
Yeah, this goes to something that I've been thinking about a lot, which is that I'm not exactly sure the center is holding.
Right.
I don't know that, again, like you, I'm not sure that's a horrible thing, but I'm not sure what the center to me feels like a Fox conservative, like a Fox News conservative. When I did Jesse Waters, actually, I was shocked at how many people from my high school, my
Yeah.
peers, reached out to me. That was surprising to me because I think Fox News actually does skew much younger than the average MSNBC viewer is 65 years old. The average viewer for Fox, I think, is more in their 40s. It could maybe even be younger than that. And what I have noticed is that as the mainstream doesn't really exist, when you have something, you could arguably say Rogan is mainstream now. Not necessarily by the definition that we presented at the beginning of this, but he is part of the mainstream media ecosystem.
Sure.
And as these things collapse and people don't really know where to get their truth or what is true, and now you have AI kind of entering the chat, people do seem to be actually going back to mainstream media. Like you're saying, they're retreating back to the thing that they know.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be pedantic, but I will be. Like you're saying collapse, and I'm not seeing a collapse. Like Officer Harris still got 48% of the vote, and there's a lot of conservative hand waving about how that doesn't matter. And sure, it doesn't matter in electoral college kind of sense. And Trump got every single swing state. But unless you can explain why the worst candidate the Democrats put up in decades did that well against the best candidate the Republicans put up in decades, you really I think aren't getting a full vision of the picture of what's going on like in this country.
Yeah, I guess when I mean collapse, it's the idea that there was a central place
Oh yeah,
that had
that's
all of the
correct.
power and it's flattened into
I
something
agree.
that's much more spread out. So it's
I
probably not the right term that
but
I'm
I've
using.
also pushed back a little bit. If what you're saying was, and you hear this a lot in the circles we travel in, if what you were saying is true as it's kind of taken as perceived wisdom in our space, COVID could never have happened. I think COVID demonstrated more than anything how powerful the corporate press still is and still remains. And I'm sure you hear, oh, everyone's waking up, everyone's waking up. A lot of people are waking up. Everyone is not capable of waking up. A majority will never wake up. So I think this is a complete myth in like podcast world.
But don't you think Trump and all of these podcasts shifting things a little bit right, or the vibe shifting, is evidence that things are changing a bit? I
Sure, but
mean,
I'm
how
saying
did
there's this.
Trump even win? How did even get this win if it wasn't for alternative media being as huge as it is.
I agree with you. I'm just saying I think there's a ceiling. So this kind of hockey stick thinking that one day we're going to snap our fingers and everyone's going to realize, oh, wait, this whole system is a scam out to screw everybody else. It will not happen, not anywhere in life. That is complete, I think, myth.
You say something a lot too, like you don't hate them enough about
That's, you know what?
the.
Hold on. That is Oren McIntyre's line, and everyone ascribes it to me, and I will take that with great pleasure. But credit where it's due, that is Oren McIntyre's line.
Yes, and it's in regards to journalists. Do you think that about all journalists?
Well, I don't want to sit here and paint with, yes.
Even the like local ones
Yeah,
doing
they're
God's
just bad
work?
at it. They're just incompetent. It's
Are
like they're
they?
the equivalent of the streetwalker. They're just not really good at their job. Doesn't mean that I have nothing against sex workers, but like she's not really a better person because she's not getting picked up.
They're just not as good at social media and being like fame whores.
Yes, quite literally.
Mm, yeah.
Or they're not as intelligent or as devious.
Yeah. Do you, yeah. I hate,
You saw that clip, and I'm sure people, maybe you haven't. There was this compilation of all the different shows that had, it's a threat to our democracy. And one after another, they were reading literally the same script. And it was just this kind of cacophony of these local reporters repeating this nonsense. So, yeah, that tells me what I think of them and their moral ethics.
you don't think that like the TikTokification of news, because you were saying earlier that you won't hear anyone cite Alex Jones as a source, but I have heard multiple people cite Candace Owens as a source in the past
Sure.
week. And so I will push back and say I think that people are citing alternative media figures as sources who have massive audiences.
Sure,
And
sure.
and like the Maha movement came out of a lot of the alternative media and red pilling. And that's like an entire huge movement that's actually affecting policy and our government. So
Oh, I
maybe it
agree
is
with you.
collapsing.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that it's not Candace Owens and RFK are still, even in like right of center spaces, not regarded with anywhere near the sense of stature and credulity that the New York Times is or the Washington Post. It's still like, if it's still like regarded as the gold standard for better or for worse. And I think the Maha movement is something that I think is a great example of this kind of space breaking up into normie world, and I think it's just absolutely wonderful. As I sip my Diet Coke.
Speaking of normie world, we have 5 hands raised, so we're gonna get into talking to some of the normies. I
By the
know.
way, as awful as it is that I have to talk to the normies, the fact that an Irishman is the one who's like being the referee here is just really hitting close to home. I was not told this would be happening.
That I'm in charge of the reffing.
That's what I said, an Irishman.
I see how you feel, Malice.
I've been very clear about it. I mail you potatoes every day.
Okay, first I'm going to bring up Philip.
Feel free to jump in, Malice.
With what? What do you mean?
Like if somebody says something or asks you a question or you have a comment, don't just.
I thought Philip was asking me a question. Is that the point?
He might,
or
yeah.
making a comment. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was wondering what you think about the concept of the media still being kind of just a respectability media, because this is something that I has been really frustrating to me. Is whenever I talk to my friends that are more on the left side of the spectrum, and I bring up anything about COVID, I bring up anything about the censorship regime, the Twitter files. They don't believe anything about that, but and there's kind of like this also this argument. I call it like an argument ad Foxorum. Like if it's on Fox News, it's not real.
Right.
And it's this thing like Jeffrey Epstein I heard about on Sean Hannity in 2004, but it didn't happen until it was on MSNBC or whatever else. It
Sure.
wasn't a real story.
Sure. I think this is a great question. So I think 2 points. I'll get broad than specific. The average person doesn't look at things through a true false filter, but through an us them filter. So as soon as they hear it's on Fox, they're done. Okay. It's the same thing as the term racist. As soon as I can demonstrate that this policy person is racist, I can check out. My thinking is complete. I don't have to think about it anymore. Is kind of the move. It's a clever move. As for COVID, this I wouldn't argue. This is how I would argue with them. Whenever I talk to people, I always go within their framework, because if it's outside their framework, they're going to reject it out of hand. So here are two things you could talk about with COVID. Ask them, okay, if social distancing was efficacious, why didn't they bring it back in later waves? And if it wasn't efficacious, why do we do it to begin with? So again, you're not saying anything, you're not rejecting their framework, work within their framework. Here's another example. Why was it better for me to show that I was vaccinated a year ago than a vaccine test that I took this week that came back negative? Which is a better indicator that I don't have this disease, that I was vaccinated, which does not prevent the spread of disease, or that I took a test, which is not 100%, but certainly highly indicative that I don't carry it? And when you ask questions like that, they don't know what to do, and that's kind of your wedge into how to start deprogramming. If you say your framework is wrong, they can't even hear you. It doesn't make any sense. I'm just waiting. Bridget, can I make a confession to you?
Yeah.
I came up with the most perfect tweet last night while I was in bed, and it is such a nuclear bomb of chaos. I'm almost scared to deploy it. Okay? No, I'm not kidding. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I want to ask, like, Candace or one of these people, when will you finally admit that Israel stole the election for Donald Trump? And when you put that out there, this is when things get really fun. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this line, but I have it queued up.
What do you think? What do you think will happen?
I don't know. I think what happens is when you have someone who's like, Israel's always bad, and you have this disconnect between a positive result. I don't know if she thinks the Trump election was good or not at this point.
I don't think she does at this point anymore, though.
Okay.
Does
Well,
she?
yeah. Well, in any case, it's still fun. It'd be funny to have her say that, yeah, Trump wasn't really elected, Kamala Harris was elected. So, or something. That's crazy. What are you basing this on? Whatever path you take, it ends up in hilarity. And that's, the beauty of good trolling.
Philip, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm calling from occupied New York, and enjoy free America. So
Where in New York?
Schenectady.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's a crazy hot. We're all the way right on the crazy hot scale. It's a beautiful state, but crazy policies. So
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Philip.
So much.
All right. Next, I'm going to bring up. Oh, where did he go? Jim Watson. He disappeared on me. All right.
Do that.
We'll come back to Jim if he comes back. Max, I'm going to go to you.
Max always looks like he's about to go get in trouble.
That's a good look.
Well, I used to work for a local TV station, and I'd get in trouble with the HR all the time, so I'm used to that.
I like your pride shirt.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah. No, but I was gonna say, I think one of the reasons why people still watch local news is because of the weather segment. I don't think they really care about all the rest. They're just watching it for the weather.
Or they're wondering,
sense.
like, what in their refrigerator is going to kill them.
Everything.
That's stupid.
But
But it works.
he makes a very good point, and I've made this point before. If you're anyone listening to this is having problems red pilling someone, right, about the media, imagine someone sitting you down and trying to convince you the weatherman's lying. Not that he gets it wrong all the time, that he's consciously lying to you. You would think this is a crazy person, right? But that's what it sounds like to most people when you talk about the media and their depravity and malfeasance. It's saying, yeah, I think the weatherman and all the weathermen are lying about the weather. It's just like, okay, cuckoo bird, but that's what they hear. So you have to understand that's their framework.
Yeah. And it makes it a lot harder when the weather lady's really sexy. Especially when Bridget shows her weather segments. And the weather lady doesn't even have to speak English. Men will watch it. So
Are you that horny that you the only access you have to hot women is
but I'm just saying there's people who do that.
Reaching levels of incel I didn't think was possible.
Is Malice familiar with our Mexican weather report?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
Is there a
Malice
sombrero?
doesn't consume our content.
I don't consume any content.
It's a monopoly. I'm just saying it's a monopoly that they have on the population. Just get some really sexy ladies on the TV, and then you
Are
suck
you
them in.
are
And
you-
Max
you-
does look like a guy who's gonna start saying the 19th Amendment.
no, I
should-
have a
are you
theory
even
about
wearing
it. I'm
pants?
like, that's why MSNBC is so bad, because they have like these really ugly ladies on there, and it's like, well, there's all your ratings. It's like,
I don't know. I think Chris Hayes is kind of a lovely. She's got this kind of librarian look going.
well,
All
that's
right.
my theory.
Thank you, Max.
We lost one.
Oh, what's going on here? All right.
It's dropping out. They're terrified of
I
mouths.
blame the Irish.
It's totally my fault. All right, Season, I'm going to bring you up next.
Oh, what a great name!
Yes. Go.
There we go. Okay. How about now?
Great
Yes.
shirt.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment on my name. Appreciate it. I've been following your work for a while, Michael. This is like the best surprise tonight. It's been absolute chaos in our house. So when I got on here and I saw Bridget doing her thing and you were over there, I was like, oh, I've read all his books. This is cool.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Write a book, man. I pick it up. It's good.
Which was your favorite one?
Come on.
Probably the new right. Oh, sorry.
No, I really like the new right. That's like, I don't
That's
know.
easy.
That was a really good one.
That one was about 10 years ahead of its time.
Isn't it great?
It was. It was
it-
definitely ahead of its time.
It's so prescient. Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. I was just here.
That's okay. No, it's totally fine to ask. If I was like seriously published, and then I would be asking too. I had to make a little list so I didn't forget and go off on a tangent. So like the way that I've looked at mainstream media has been kind of the way it was in our house growing up in the 80s and 90s as a Gen Xer was my dad came home from work and everybody shut the hell up
Yep.
while he listened to Tom Brokaw.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you talked or you tried to take the TV, you'd lose your head.
Yeah.
And my dad would sit there and wouldn't believe everything. That's where I learned how to critique media, was by listening to my dad being like, oh, okay, like using his boomer satire and whatever. And then like as I evolved and became an adult in my 20s or whatever, then it was like talk radio was like the big, like get around it. And then I think this is because I think this is the Gen X. I think this is how Gen Xers kind of evolved over time.
Mhm.
Like center right. And then it became podcasts, right? When that became like the big thing on YouTube. And that's kind of like what I listen to. And I feel like I don't know what the hell mainstream media is. Like I said in the comments, the only time I know what those people are talking about is when someone clips it and puts it on X and it circulates on X. And I'm like, oh, that's what MSNBC is talking about. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. Because I don't care what they have to say. Because I think I listen to Bridget regularly. There's only a few people that I actually listen to regularly. I'll listen to Dad Saves America. I love his podcast, and it really all comes down to like my husband and I talk about this all the time. Because when you run a YouTube channel, you have to look at the algorithms, what they're doing with the algorithms. I feel like the mainstream media concept is just really all about algorithms, and that's part of the reason that like people can't talk to each other. Is because they're siloed by
Mhm.
what's driving them, which is the algorithm. But I've somehow feel like I've been able to come out of this whole thing more objective and more moderate.
But
And
aren't we
I
aren't we
don't
driving
know how that
ourselves?
Like I feel like if I would have stayed in the hole of listening to talk radio, I would be way more right wing than I am now. Like I'm able to listen to people that make me laugh, like you, Michael, and listen to people that are like, and Peter Boghossian, people that are like that have come from different perspectives originally where I am and that believe different things, but I'm more willing to listen to them on the long form podcast. I don't think my kids will do that. Gen Z, they're all Gen Z. But like I feel like it's been a good evolution, but I don't know what mainstream media is. I can't tell you because I don't partake in it, I don't think. Unless you want to call the podcast world on YouTube mainstream media. I don't know. I mean,
I think we have to call it that now, but if you're talking about numbers, but again, it's like, how do you define what the mainstream media is? Are we defining it as like the corporate elite press that we all grew up with, or are we defining it by what the mainstream is actually listening to?
and I don't think the corporate, I mean, obviously, like Michael, you're right. Like the corporate media is not letting go because look at who's buying TikTok. Look at who's buying. They know they're just pivoting. Like they still want to control the algorithms. They still want to control what we see because they realize what's going on. So they're going to try and get their pound of flesh one way or another because they're not going to just tap out and be like, oh, well, we're the old school now. We're not going to be involved. Like they're never going to give up because it's a morality thing for them. Like they have to win because it's a morality thing. Like, everything that has to do with critical theory it's a morality. It's like, no, we have to win because like we're right and we're the moral like we're the ones
I-
with the best ethics, you know.
I agree with every word Susan just said, and I want to piggyback on something she said. Rush Limbaugh was someone who was a big influence on me. I'm sure on you, Susan, as well, growing up. And if you read his second book, See, I Told You So, which came out, I believe, in 94, 95, somewhere around there, the last chapter is, and boomers have been saying this, and they're saying it now more than ever, we are seeing the death knell of liberalism. This is its last gasp. Like, it's going away. We're defeating them. It's a wrap. And we sit here and laugh because in his defense, 1994 was the first time Republicans had controlled the House in 40 years. People don't realize that. And the trajectory did seem to be going in that direction. Well, it's 30 years later. And with the first time I was back on Gutfeld, the first kind of quote was, the Democrats are never going to win again because everything they stand for is terrible. And I'm like, it's not even the end of the first quarter. And you're going home and having a celebration. These
Right.
people are not giving up without a fight. They've been at it for 100 years. And my friend Jesse, who's also an ANCAP, he gave me his quote. He goes, the enemy's never going to say, well, I won that. I lost that argument. And just like, what are you talking about? It's not, they're not there because of, good faith. So why would they leave because of good faith? It makes absolutely no sense. And even if they didn't have this moral, it wasn't a moral imperative for them, it's still a financial imperative. I still have to, if I'm working at the New York Times, I got to feed my kids and my dog and roof over my head. So, and they're so entrenched, this idea that they're just going to vanish. And here's the other thing that you don't hear a lot about in podcast spaces. A lot of these people at the New York Times, Washington Post, and all this, like, they're quite smart. Maybe, the person in front of the camera or whatever you see their followers on social media aren't, but they're highly educated and highly intelligent. So to kind of write them off and be like, oh, it's a wash, they're not Kamala Harris. You know what I mean? So it's really this delusion I think people have where, again, it's us, them. We have all the smart, funny people. They are all stupid and humorless. It's like a lot of them are, but not the ones that count.
I do want to add real quick before we go something like I was mentioning that I just watched Dad Saves America, and he did a whole thing on the rise of the new Jacobins. It's really, really good. He actually described what the left has turned into as an autoimmune disease on the left. And that description has stuck with me all week because it's like they've won. They basically reached the end of what they were trying to progress to. And now they're just going after the body itself, like going after the government and everything itself, because they've reached a point where they have to have a purpose. So now they've just turned in on everything else. And they're just basically just trying to destroy the country itself. But these people are not going away.
They have.
Now they're just turning in. They're just going to continue to do that. I thought that was a really good description.
I don't think they're anywhere close to reaching the end. I mean,
because they have to keep going.
Yeah, if you look at Europe, if you look at Cambodia, if you look at Venezuela, even Canada, they're nowhere close to reaching the end.
Yeah, they're doing work.
There was even that clip that was going around of Ezra Klein and Ta-Nehisi Coates that everybody's been talking about. I was like, oh, these guys, they are doing no self-reflection, actually. Zero.
None.
They'll
But
just keep, what?
From their perspective, why would they need to?
Right.
I mean, you would think if you lost that badly, or not badly, but if you lost at all, after all of this stuff they've waged and claimed, that there would be some self-reflection.
Well, no,
But-
think about it. They got 48% of the vote. They have the closest House margin in like almost 100 years. 47 senators. I think it was 22 governors. They're in a real good position going into the midterms because all they have to do is figure out what issue Trump's going to fumble on, and he will fumble on something because not everything's under his control. And then you run on that one. They have a clean slate to disavow everything they did in the past and just focus on one issue and beat it to death. They're also going to have great A/B testing for 2028 because they can run the Mamdanis and they can run the Hillary Clinton Biden corporate hacks, see which one resonates, and that's the candidate you put up as your presidential nominee. So it's really
they're critical theorists. They're never going to stop.
Right.
They have to put in the work, and they don't work on the same. They don't even think of things the same way we do because everything is power structures.
Right.
So to them, it's like, okay, well, the power structures are winning. So we just have to fight against them harder. It's not even like I was watching Peter Boghossian talk about this today and break it down. Like it's not they're not even functioning in the same world because they don't
Right.
believe in truth. They don't believe in objective truth. So and debate isn't even a thing for them. It's like, it's just power structures. They're coming at things from a completely different perspective than you or I. There's no truth. There is just taking down the power structures, whatever they may be, colonialism, whatever
Right.
it is. And that's what drives them. They have to continuously put in the work to become the new man. Like learning about like critical theory and where all that's come from, it really makes these people make sense. Like you're just like, oh, they're just new Marxists, and they're just putting in the work to make it, to continuously break down these power structures that they believe are in the way. And that's what the you or I normies live in, is in that system. And they're trying to make things better for us. You know, they have a mandate. So
Right.
Malice, what is the end game?
Of-
Like,
of-
what's the world that they want to live in?
So this is so progressivism and versus like the right is broad. I'm using this terms extremely broadly. The right has this idea that if the rules are fair, the outcome by definition is fair, right? So if me and you are playing Monopoly or any board game and you win 10 times out of 10, both of us, I think, would conclude, okay, Bridget's just better at this game than I am. For them, it's about forcing outcomes. And that's not necessarily wrong. Like if you and I are pretty equal and yet there's some system where you're winning every time, I can see how you would be like, wait a minute, if I have some kind of advantage that you don't, like something's not adding up. So for them, it's about constantly forcing outcomes. Now, since no person is equal even to themselves, you're not the same person you were before you were a mom or even a year ago. I certainly am not. No one listening to this is. Equality is literally impossible and ridiculous as a goal. So until they have complete equality of everyone, which is never, they will constantly seek to dominate and control literally every single space. One of the things I talked about in the New Right is there was a video game that was took place in the Middle Ages, and people were complaining there weren't enough black people in the video game in Europe. Right? Because the point is, even imaginary video games that take place in history is not going to be free from their space and domination. So there's even, like, I'm sure you talked about this in your writing. This is a thing where, like, if you're sleeping with the wrong race, like, this is a problem. So somehow it's okay if you have a preference for gender, but if you have preference for race in the bedroom, you have to have kind of, what do you call that? That training where they put electro loads to your genitals and kind of shock you. What do they call that? When they try to-
Electroshock?
Electroshock. No, there's a conversion therapy. This is just
Conversion
it's
therapy.
leftist conversion therapy. So we laugh, but the point is there's nothing that is regarded as outside their purview. And until they get equality, by which they mean everyone is largely interchangeable in all the ways that matter, they will never stop. This is not a worldview that is compatible with either reality or with decency.
It just doesn't seem like there's equality, though, because there's still people who are in power in this scenario.
Well, they're doing it on behalf of everybody else. So they're not really in power. The people are in power, is the argument.
I mean, but they're not.
Well, again, now you're thinking like a right winger. So
Oh,
when they win,
no.
when they win, it's a mandate, and when they lose, it's disingenuous or
Mhm.
somehow illegitimate.
when they lose, we're just stupid.
Yes.
People who voted are just stupid.
But in their defense, they're not entirely wrong with that one. If you look at who's voting, not everybody, but plenty.
That's true.
All right. Thank you, Susan. Oh, wait. What did you say at the end there?
Not me though. It's just those people that are dumb.
Yeah. Everyone else is dumb. We're the smart ones. Yeah.
Of course.
Thank God.
No, I'm definitely dumb.
All right. I'm going to bring up Curtis next. Guys, we're a little low on hands. What's going on?
Everyone's scared of Malice.
Yeah, everyone's a little intimidated
They're
by Malice.
intimidated by Malice. They know that he doesn't like, he's basically got in the petting zoo today. Malice always says that I'm like an animal in a petting zoo with my audience.
I said that once.
It stuck with her.
You always say
You
it.
say it in her head all the time.
Yeah. I said it once.
I feel like you've said it more than once. Maybe.
I know I agree that you feel that I've said that more than once.
And now he's in the petting zoo. Welcome. This is what it's like. Hi, Curtis.
Hey there, Bridget. Malice, pleasure. Hey, I'll lay out kind of a thought about my thoughts on journalism and AI, and like to get your comments. You know, I did a search recently for one of the cartoons that the Gavin Newsom had put out. I thought it looked like a Nazi cartoon, and so I did a search and added a few things to the prompt, and it came back with, you know, probably about a page and a half of information about it. And it struck me then and a few other times that the results of the search in Grok are getting they're obviously not there, and they're obviously sometimes hallucinating, but they are getting good enough to where they feel like articles or something tailored to you based on your search input. So I wonder if we're sort of I feel like we're in sort of a short age in which, as AI gets better and it gets better at our preferences and we get better at prompting, it will have this period where we can really go out and get, you know, quote unquote journalism. The line for me is blurring a little bit. It also makes me realize that, you know, things like, you know, how people are saying with Wikipedia, you know, the bias of the sources, or if you looked at the Gemini launch where, you know, like Michael was saying about the video game, you remember all the, you know, the black Nazis and everything wouldn't show you a white person if you asked about the founding fathers and so forth. So I don't know, I'm excited about AI and I'm excited about tailored journalism. I mean, you could even create criteria for yourself where it would go out and create articles for you and feed them to you. But then at what point does the power transfer so much to, you know, Google and you know, Elon and, you know, OpenAI, that it becomes problematic? You know, something, you know, Orwell would probably not even have conceived of. So
It's
thoughts?
not Orwell, it's Huxley. So I think this is Brave New World coming true very quickly. I'll give you a couple of examples of AI, which I find absolutely terrifying, and I don't think other people have really commented on this. I remember, like, it was like 5 years ago, someone on Twitter was arguing with me, and they pulled up my Wikipedia, and I said, although understand why you think you have a better perspective on my biography than I do, I still have to disagree. But they were doing this without any kind of sense of shame. Like, there was something on my Wikipedia which was incorrect, and they just screen capped it and shoved it in my face. And I'm sitting there and was like, holy shit, this person has not only self-awareness, but no self. I'll give you another couple of examples. I talked about this recently. I put up a picture of Tom Woods, the Very Failed Podcaster. We did a cartoon series together. And someone asked Grok, who is this in this picture? And they said it was Bob Murphy, and that it's from my graphic novel, Ego and Hubris. And when I was arguing with Grok, it was telling me, no, it's definitely from Ego and Hubris. So not only did it get it incorrect, which I can understand, it also was incorrect about its degree of certainty, which is very scary, because if I'm someone asking it a question and Grok is telling me I'm certain of this answer, I would probably listen to it. So whoever's programming Grok is going to kind of go in that direction. We see another case where I just recently wanted to have a picture of Charlie Kirk shaking hands with George Floyd in heaven to put it up there to upset everybody. It wouldn't let me do it. It wouldn't let me put up a picture
Really?
of George Floyd, although 3 months ago, it would let me do a picture of Hulk Hogan shaking hands with George Floyd in heaven. Same thing we saw with Facebook when it started. Facebook doesn't have a dislike button. It has only a like button, right? So kind of in 1984, going back to Orwell, where you could say good or ungood, but you couldn't say bad, and it was kind of forcing your thinking through language in a certain direction. So I think we are at an exponential rate. People are outsourcing their thinking to AI, which means whoever controls that algorithm is controlling huge percentage of the populations, and that's happening right now in real time. And I don't think there's any remote chance of anyone doing anything to stop it or even slow it down.
Well, it's interesting too, because, you know, we've already started to experience this where the ability to monetize good journalism has been reduced because the newspapers and the way they've failed. And so you don't have as much good information. Well, as my custom search is more appealing to me than me having to go out and read 20 articles and build the whole model
Right.
of I'm interested in my mind, I'm going more and more towards Grok. So as it gets better, does the source material get worse? For me, you know, when I think of journalists, like in standard, like in the traditional model, like Matt Taibbi, Schellenberger, Greenwald, people like that, I like to listen to. But someone like an Abigail Schreier, that's more like a blend of a journalist author. So that source material and that business model seems to be holding up better than the the daytime news. I mean, you
Sure.
can get news on Twitter, and when like I like to think, we're all the media now. We're all in trouble because anyone can say anything on there. So I think the need is for validation of source material, especially like what you're saying, Michael. I think Grok's doing a good job, at least, of putting the link to the thing that it showing you what
Sure.
it's in. I can go back to the source material. So anyway,
But your definition of I think the average person's definition of better is that which validates their preconceptions. So right now, if I want to have Grok demonstrate to me that Trump has Nazi-like tendencies, they could pull up 10 sources very easily. And if I can have Grok prove to me that Trump has anti-Nazi tendencies, they could pull up 10 sources very easily. So the more that algorithm runs, the more it's going to validate whichever preconception I have. So again, whoever is, garbage in, garbage out, whoever is kind of nudging it in one direction or another. Who wasn't? There's a movie called The Creepy Line, which I had on my show, and Dr. Robert Malone, I think is his name. I forget the guy. It's not Robert Malone. I forget the guy's name. And he had the point. He goes, "Here's how Google can massively influence the election, or
right? Yeah,
Facebook."
Rogan talked
Right?
to that guy. Yeah,
Yeah. So, well, just for people who don't know, let's suppose I have an ad that says go out and vote, right? And I only run this ad for people who liked Hillary Clinton on their page, and I don't run it for the Donald Trump people. And they did the math. It's going to, we don't even need to do the math. It's certainly going to skew one way or another, right? So that's a very easy way, an invisible way for me to move elections one way or another. Or I think it was something for Google when you search for Hillary, the top 10 articles, not the first page, 9 were positive. You search for Trump, 9 of them were negative. Now, that could be an organic thing based on how they're each being reported, but the result will certainly shove you in one direction or another.
Well, and I think that was something you said earlier that really stuck with me was talking about the average person doesn't see things in terms of truth or whatever. They see it in terms of in-group, out-group, or whatever your language
Us, them, yeah.
Us, them. And I think that for me, I'm realizing like having a theory of mind for other people is not something I specialize in. And I think it's something we need to, like, to me, it's impossible that a communist has like 80% of the vote in the current surveys in New York City for being elected. It just can't, it doesn't. And I guess I just don't understand that.
80? Where do you see 80?
It wasn't it. Well, was it 80, 85? I don't know. Somewhere on
No,
Twitter.
40. But even still, yeah.
Oh, maybe it was an 80% chance of winning. Maybe
okay.
That's what it was. Yeah. So, but whatever it is, the number is inconceivable that he's even in the race leading. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is having a theory of mind that's different than your own, understanding, like, and then positioning things in the way that the person that you're talking to, that's something I think a lot of people don't even consider, and it sure seems important right now.
Yeah, one of the things public schooling does, and this is by design, and one of the reasons I hate it, is it beats this idea of universalism into everyone's head, which encourages everyone to think that all human beings are basically the same underneath, right? I've never met you, but like push comes to shove, we're all the same underneath. That's completely untrue. Like a lot of people, first of all, broadly speaking, most humans are not capable of empathy, by which I mean understanding a point of view they don't hold. But to even some people like us who are kind of interested in politics, to realize a lot of people have no one inside, that is something that's just not even brought to the table. And that I think actually is an accurate representation of majority of human beings.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thanks, Curtis. Is it true too that there are people with no interior monologue?
Yes.
That was mind blowing to me when I found that out, because that's why I used heroin.
Wait,
To
what?
shut yourself up.
That was why I used heroin, like to shut up my internal monologue.
Wait, you didn't use it because it feels really good and everyone should try it at least once?
That obviously.
All right, I'm gonna bring up Murphy next.
But mostly just to shut it up.
That's interesting. Okay. I would think Coke would help you with that because then you could.
Oh
let it
God,
out.
no. Coke is just.
Coke makes the voice run faster.
It's like throwing gasoline on the fire up here.
Okay. Well, that's the name of your dump. How many shows do you have at this point? Like,
this is an ongoing joke on every show that I go on now. It only makes me want to dig in even harder and start another show.
Hi, Murphy.
Hey, Maggie. Thank you for letting me be able to be on the show. Michael, I am such a fan of you, and your books are on my to be read book. I'm to be read list. I'm sorry I haven't gotten there, But of course, at this moment in time, it seems like we're in a particular moment in history. Your specialty of some of the books that you've written and your experience has been what happened in the Soviet Union.
Mm.
And so people went in a fascist direction back in the day with the Russians, and they went one direction, and the culture very changed. I wonder if there are historical examples of people going from fascism or some kind of lockdown, totalitarian censorship into a more freedom way, and if you have examples and what we might be able to look at from
I
those.
literally just this week finished a book. I want to double check the title because I'm 99% sure I have it right. But it's What a Fortuitous Question, to the point it almost sounds like it was scripted for me. The book I finished reading this week was called Exercising Hitler, because the question was
With an O.
with an O. Yeah,
Right.
not it wasn't doing Sig Heils
I,
to
I just imagine
jazzercise.
Hitler doing Pilates.
And the question was, okay, it's 1945. The Allies defeated Germany. What do you do with a population where the entirety, like a huge generation, was raised hearing Nazi propaganda from the time they were born until 1945? Like, what do you do with them? And how do you kind of purge them of this? And I was reading it, being all excited, and they were kind of like, they didn't. Like their whole, what ended up happening is because Hitler long story short, there were all these promises, 1,000-year Reich, we're going to take over, we're the master race, we're better than everybody. And then they got their asses handed them really, really hard. Food is scarce. For a lot of people, I talk about this in my North Korea work. It's really easy to teach a population that the great leader Kim Il Sung is the most wonderful human being who's ever lived. It's really hard to tell a population it's good that you're starving, that you can't feed your kids, or that you had less food this year than last year. So at a certain point, Maslow takes over. I think one of the things is we're very privileged as Americans because this is very recent. We don't have to worry about food. And so much of human history is how am I going to get the next meal? And once that's solved and once shelter's solved, it's like, okay, we're going to worry about other things. So that it's kind of that situation. Russia, obviously, 91 was another example of shifting from a totalitarian state to something more liberal. And there's no way these transitions ever go well. But I think broadly speaking, we're nowhere close to totalitarianism in the States. And I think we all dodged a huge bullet because I think it's very clear. And Hillary was talking about this in 2016 she came up with the thing fake news about censoring the internet and doing what they're doing in Canada and especially in the UK. This is something that the Democrats have been champing at the bit for a long time to people are getting the wrong conclusion. Like we talked about earlier, like progressives want to force an outcome. Look, I'm all for free speech, but look what ends up happening. People are thinking crazy things. We got to figure this out. So we've dodged one bullet, but there's plenty left in the chamber. And to your question, the only way it really works is it's like, if you don't understand politics, I loved all those books behind you, by the way. I was looking at all of them while you were asking the question. I'm very impressed. If you want to understand politics, I'm not joking at all. It's going to sound facetious. Watch The Dog Whisperer. Because human beings and dogs have co-evolved. Our brains are far closer than people want to give them credit. This John Locke, Enlightenment fantasy that there's this public square, and if you put forth all your ideas, truth will eventually win out, is insane. If you talk to average people, they don't think like that at all. None of them would even pretend to. But people will go who gives them food. They will go who gives them safety. And especially in a binary system, it's like, how do you go from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden to Trump? It's like in a binary system, it's like, okay, this sucked. I'm going to go for the other guy. Okay, this was good. I'm going to stay with him. Oh, this sucked again. I'm going to go back to the other guy. That's the kind of this vacillation is how it works in a binary political system like we have. And I think it's just a matter of making people feel comfortable. And that's what wins. The thing that I think a lot of these Nazis don't get is totalitarianism is very inefficient at delivering goods. Like slavery was not really, they weren't rich under slavery. There were only very few people who were rich. And when that's the case, it's not a good system, even if ignoring the unconscionable immorality of the system.
Thank you for that. I'm glad you mentioned the books because I had something I wanted to share. I read books a lot. I'm really obsessed with books, and
Yeah.
I was looking at the history of literature, and I noticed that there was kind of a drop off in my studies after Shakespeare. I'm like, what happened to England? What happened to English literature? It kind of went into a no man's land. What happened after Shakespeare was Cromwell. And Cromwell came in, talk about the Jacobins from the previous podcast they were mentioning. The Jacobins came in, Cromwell came in, and a whole bunch of censorship happened. It censored so hard. Cromwell came in, and then the king that came after also censored. He's like, let's not have any political talk anymore. So literature went down the toilet. It went really stupid. And the thing that was popular at the time was French bedroom farces. It was stupid. And I look at literature right now, I'm like, oh God, everything's happening is vampires and what? These are stupid. Where's the beautiful stuff? I miss it. I'm like, come
Well,
on.
I'm going to push back a little. Sturgeon's law teaches that 80 or 90% of everything is crap. So I'm sure like 10% of those vampire novels are
Okay.
good, and there's still that 10% out
Okay,
there.
there are a few, but I'm like, I'm looking for those few.
Thank you, Murphy. I do
Thanks,
want to get
Murphy.
to Brady. He's had his hand up for a while, and we'll see if we can get back to Max, but we might run out of time, Max. Let's see.
Max has more to say.
Here we go.
Hi, Brady.
Unmute. Awesome. Oh, wonderful. Thanks. Okay, so first of all, I'm such a huge fan of you, Mike, and Bridget. So wonderful conversation to bring it back to the media. So I don't watch it, but I definitely see clips, and I see like Caitlin Collins or Dana Bash,
Oh
and
God.
there's yeah, and Jake Tapper, and they just say the dumbest stuff. And I'm like wondering. So I saw one earlier of Mike Johnson talking to Caitlin Collins, and I'm like, why do people talk to these,
But can
so-called
I
journalists?
had a picture of the two of them together on Twitter, and they're clearly both transgender, opposite directions.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
Caitlin Connors clearly was born as a dude, and Mike Johnson clearly is F to M. It's really obvious. Especially you look at them together, it's really obvious.
But when I see Caitlin Collins, I'm like, who do you want to win, Russia or Ukraine? Like, I totally think hey, let's stop dying. I think that's a great, but it's
Right.
just they are just so dumb. I don't understand why anyone still talks to them. But this got me thinking too. I remember a couple years back, Mike Dice, he would do these interviews, man on the street, going to California, find out the most like whacked out dude, and like, hey, it's Memorial Day. We're here to remember the great surfers, and they're like, yeah, dude, yeah, and they talk, how many stripes are on the flag or how many stars, and it just got to me, or thinking like these normies, there's like so little there. Like they care about kind of what you were talking about. Who's gonna feed me? Who's gonna give me safety? Can I do something that gets me away from the drone of life? And so I think that's what mainstream is kind of feeding people, is just enough to like keep you in the know, but not really. And I
Well,
just
I don't even
wanted
think they're really wrong. Like it's kind of screwed up that how many of us know who our local fireman is, right? Or a fire chief. It really not the idea that it's our business, that it's politics, government doesn't work. And because it doesn't work, it's incumbent on everyone kind of to be involved. But I don't know, who runs my local supermarket. I don't know, who plows my streets because it works. So because government is such a calamity, therefore it takes up all this attention that it really shouldn't have to otherwise. So I don't think these people necessarily are making an irrational choice by being more focused on surfing than they are on, especially California politics. What good options do they have? It's kind of like the Serenity Prayer. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
guess the outcome just is terrible.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
I mean, I'm
the-
pretty normie. I'm very normie. And I think like everything being political is not always great either.
Yeah.
I want to just be able to go bake bread and hang out with my family. And I think it's weird to do this and then get on stage and do jokes that I've been working on online or on Dumpster Fire, or there's a story that everybody in my circle knows about online. And then you get on stage in front of a crowd of people and maybe two
Right.
people have heard of it. So it always is a reminder to me that I'm in another bubble, which is a political bubble. And
Yes.
there's a very small fraction of people who even pay attention to it. And it feels outsized to me because it's what I do and everyone I know who does this and people like you who pay attention. But it's actually, when I get on stage in front of 300 people, not anyone has heard usually of something that is everybody's talking about online on X.
And to that point, there is a big section of the online space who thinks they're going to sell some version of Nazism to America. And I would encourage you to go to a supermarket and look around who's there buying food and imagine going up to them and trying to sell them that Winston Churchill was the bad guy and we should have turned up with Hitler in World War II. They would be more amenable to hearing about transing their kid than this kind of stuff, even regardless of whether it's true or not, which I obviously don't think it's true.
But this is kind of the like right wing version of transing your kid. That is like a little bit what it is.
The point is they do think, 2028, that's going to be our year. And it's like, I hold on. I really think people underestimate the Democrats. I think they
so
are
too.
letting people run their mouths a lot in this space, and they're going to pull those quotes and play them for Karen, who is the swing voter in every election. And when you hear Karen, when you bring up Hitler to Karen, she's not going to be like, well, I don't know, maybe make some good points. She's running for the hills in the same way that when you start validating riots and stores being burnt down, she doesn't have any political opinions to be like, if you're in any way justifying this, I'm not even hearing it. I'm voting for the other guy. It's really people are fooling themselves enormously. They couldn't even sell it really during Hitler's reign. The kind of things. I mean, like it's just okay. We'll see what happens.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rudy.
Thank you so much. Well, that's it, guys. 7:00. We made it. Michael Malice, where can we find you? Where can we find your work? Where can we?
It's in a dumpster. Someone just set it on fire.
Are you performing?
No, I got to figure. We'll have to talk about this. I did my.
Why don't we do a You're Welcome live?
What's that?
We should do a Your Walk-ins welcome.
I have to find another venue for that. I would be delighted to do that.
But where can we find you and your work?
Just Michael Malice on Twitter.
Okay.
Everywhere else they can find me.
Thank you.
I love you. You're
I love you
brilliant.
more.
It's just crazy how brilliant you are, actually. Thank you for stopping in, and you're always welcome to pop on in and say hello.
I'll see you Friday.
See you Friday. I love that we live in the same town.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. It has been another fascinating discussion that I'm going to be thinking about all week, as usual. Thank you to my guest, Michael Malice. Thank you to those of you who showed up and asked questions and had your comments. You're so thoughtful, and I really appreciate you. Thank you, Quest, for sponsoring this show. Visit questhealth.com and use the discount code RealMay25 and get 20% off your purchase. That's questhealth.com, code RealMay25 for 20% off. There's a link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Bridget.
And thank you to Two Way and their amazing team. As Two Way grows, we're expanding our roster of talent. Our newest host is actor Ethan Suplee, teaming up with us on a community-focused show designed to spark real conversations about food, fitness, and mindset. The pilot episode is tomorrow, October 2nd at 4 p.m. Eastern, and you can register to be a part at twoway.tv/Ethan Suplee. And here's a quick trailer just so you know what his show is all about.
Hi, I'm Ethan Suplee. I'm launching a new show on the Two-Way platform
sometimes
about
even
the
a little
everyday
weird.
health
In
obstacles.
addition to
we
the
all
weekly
face.
show,
I'll be
it's
posting
built
content
for
on my YouTube, X, and Instagram accounts and encouraging you to share clips with me. We'll pilot episodes on October 2nd and October 7th, and I'd love your help shaping the series. Just head to twoway.tv/Ethan Suplee and sign up for all the details. And October 7th, and I'd love your help shaping the series. Just head to twoway.tv/Ethan Suplee and sign up for all the details.
All right. Join us next Wednesday, October 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're with us on the Zoom, it's the same link every time. You guys are the best. Thanks for getting real with me. I'm Bridget Fetisi. Don't forget to tip your server.